Steve. We had a 5-star commitment on Tuesday, Savian Hyder. We've covered it a lot on this channel already. We covered it on your previous show. We've covered it on all my shows. Now, when it comes to Michigan recruiting, we are going to turn the focus to flip season. That being said, who would Michigan love to flip this upcoming season?
Well, I think their top target on the board as they go into the fall is Rivals #1 ranked cornerback Devon Benjamin, currently committed to Oregon. That is going to be a tough flip for the Wolverines, but I do think the Maize and Blue were the runner-up for Devon Benjamin. Oregon was his leader for basically his entire process, but Michigan gave him a lot to think about over visits in the spring and the summer, and they're going to continue to recruit Benjamin into the fall. I think Benjamin's having regular dialogue with Oregon. He's into the minutia of the Duck scheme. Regular contact with Tosh Lupoy, Chris Hampton and company is very comfortable. A lot of love for Oregon, but communication continues with Michigan, and the Wolverines are going to be on the gas, full steam ahead for Devon Benjamin. They landed most of their top targets this cycle. That was one that got away. They're not going to give up. They'll continue to recruit the California Blue Chipper.
Yeah, another name that sticks out to me, especially if Bryce Underwood can live up to some of this hype, is Calvin Russell, the 5-star wide receiver that got away to Syracuse. I know Miami's not done recruiting him. I got to assume Michigan is not as well.
I haven't heard much Michigan buzz as he being one of the targets that the Wolverines are still pushing for on the flip watch. But the Wolverines, look, there were people in his camp that thought he was going to commit to Michigan. His agency sent me a press release that we embargoed with quotes from Calvin, his family, and his agent on him committing to Michigan. That's how close it was down the stretch. But Syracuse is the program that did the best job of recruiting Calvin Russell from start to finish, felt close with Fran Brown, believes in the direction of the program for the Orange, the impact that he can have up there at Syracuse. And he did his own thing when he announced. He went in there and popped for Syracuse, and a new press release was sent an hour later with updated quotes. And obviously we had Marcus Benjamin on the ground. That was a wild, exciting night. That's what's fun about recruiting. Commitments like Calvin Russell, and he locked in with Syracuse. That's the program that he loved. No program did a better job. Michigan certainly pushed for him, gave him a lot to think about, similar to Devon Benjamin. Does Michigan want another wide receiver in this class? I think if an elite one presents itself, but cornerback, linebacker, and offensive line are the positions of focus and emphasis for Michigan going into the season.
Yeah, and well, that being said, who are some more specific names that Michigan is targeting at those positions?
Well, our colleague E.J. Holland has put out there that Nick Abrams, Georgia linebacker commit, is someone that Michigan will continue to pursue. I have intel that Michigan is in the mix for another touted linebacker right now that they're having dialogue with, committed elsewhere. So we'll see if that continues to get more legs. But I do think Michigan is in the middle of it for an unnamed linebacker right now that I think that they like a lot, that they are getting good feedback from. And we'll see what happens during the season as they continue to push for that young man. They only have one linebacker committed right now, Markel Dabney. They flipped him from SMU. Yep. They're going to look to flip somebody else, and they're going to try and do it early in the fall. So we'll see what happens.
DQ Forkbus, he's down at IMG Academy, and he was supposed to commit during the summer, but I think it was going to be to the Florida Gators if he did make that decision. But is he still on the radar for Michigan?
No, I don't think so. I think that one was coming down to Florida and Florida State anyways. Florida's still considered the heavy favorite. He's getting some things in line off the field, obviously transferred from IMG Academy to Alabaster Thompson. So he's got some things in motion behind the scenes before he goes to make his college decision. But last I heard, Florida's still in strong position there. And Michigan is on the flip targets at the linebacker position.
Love it. All right. We talked so much about the top of this commit list for Michigan. So, Steve, who are some of the more underrated recruits on the commit list?
Well, Michigan, they've really recruited to their strengths this cycle, right? They're a team that's going to be physical around the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They want to run the football. That's their identity. So they have 3 of their top offensive line targets in the class committed, headlined by Malachi Lee, but going out there and winning out for Bear McWhorter, beating Alabama and company for him was a big recruiting win. Obviously, they have Savion Hyder, but where I'm going with this is the tight end position. Matt Ludwig and Mason Bonner committed to Michigan. That's arguably the top tight end duo headed to a school in the country, and Matt Ludwig was one of the most coveted players in the country. They beat Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Notre Dame specifically for Matt Ludwig. He's a top 10 player at the position. Not a lot of buzz around Mason Bonner, but let me tell you about Mason Bonner out of Denver Mullen. He's 6'6". He's 200 pounds, averaged nearly 18 points a game and over 10 rebounds per game on the hardwood, averaged nearly 20 yards per catch on the football field. He's big, long, explosive, very athletic. He is a guy that people aren't talking about enough in this class, and Michigan had him very high on the board. And so when you look at Michigan's tight end class, in addition to what they're bringing in on the defensive line with Carter Meadows, Julian Walker, Titan Davis, certainly Savion Hyder, these offensive linemen, their tight end room is going to be stacked for years to come. And Mason Bonner is a recruit in this Michigan class that people should be talking more about. When you look up in a couple seasons, if Mason Bonner's leading the Wolverines in receptions among the top tight ends in the country, don't be surprised, because he is 6'6", 200 pounds. He's still developing, but you can't coach athleticism. And he is an exciting player and someone that we'll be monitoring closely with the rival scouting team this fall.
All right, Michigan fans, talk to Steve and I. Who is your favorite player in this class? Not necessarily the highest ranked player, but who is your favorite commitment for Michigan in 2026? Let us know. Comment section below.